Autumn Brown, front woman of the soul pop band Autumn, a queer science fiction writer, a theologian, a mother of dragons, and a healing justice facilitator for social movements living on Dakota and in Anishinaabe land, currently known as Minneapolis.
And I'm Adrienne Marie Brown. I'm also a queer science fiction writer, but I'm not trying to steal Autumn's fire. But I also love to do those things. I love to do queer things. A luscious Black queer witch writer auntie, an apocalyptic love scholar, a public conversationalist, and a gardener of healing ideas. I live in the land of the Okinichi, Shikori, Skurure, Tuscarora, Eno, and Lumbee peoples, currently known as Durham.
And this is How to Survive the End of the World,
our podcast about learning from apocalypse with grace, rigor, and curiosity.
The one thing that we can say we both do. As a reminder, we have no ads. We are listener supported.
And if you're listening, we're thinking of you when we say, come join our Patreon for exclusive content. Now, today we have guests with us who are friends, who are comrades, who are teachers, who are artists. These folks are in my home, literally. I'm so excited to introduce these folks to you. They are one of these, they're a pair of guests who came into my life in a way that was quite magical, quite unexpected. And a lot of the things that brought them into my life have fallen away, but they're the gem. They're the thing that was oh, I'm not letting this part go. This is forever love. So I'm going to introduce them to you now. I have Charlotte Brathwaite, an award-winning artist, creative director, and theater director whose work moves across performance, spectacle, and immersive experience. Working across theater, opera, film, dance, installation, and site-specific performance, Brathwaite creates cross-disciplinary projects that bring narrative, sound, movement, and space into close relationship. Her genre-defying practice centers the histories, realities, and imagined futures of communities that have been historically excluded, engaging questions of power, race, social justice, and collective memory. Drawing from oral and oral traditions, her work often unfolds as immersive environments rather than conventional stages, creating experiences that are felt as much as they are witnessed. I got to meet Charlotte when she was brought onto the team of To Feel a Thing, a ritual of emergence. I was a student in that process, learning a lot of things very quickly as we made something remarkable. Charlotte, who is 3 days older than me, taught me how to stop shrinking and trust my contributions, and I am forever grateful. We've kept deepening with each other as Virgos, trying to find freedom through art and collaboration.
Look at that. Virgos learning how to collaborate.
Virgos learning how to love. That's us. Malick Welli is a Senegalese photographer, a visual artist whose work across photography, film, and installation explores how spaces, bodies, and histories are inhabited and remembered. Through staged and symbolic imagery, he engages questions of identity, belonging, displacement, spirituality, belief systems, and power dynamics, creating visual narratives where personal and collective memory intertwine. Malick's art hangs over my fireplace. It's a gorgeous photograph that is the first thing I see every morning. Together, this pair of lovebird artists are based in Dakar, Senegal, and are co-founding Malidoma Pappengen, an artist residency rooted in land, memory, and community in Senegal. And there are two tall, dark drinks of water. This is just such a pleasure to be around. And welcome to the show, Charlotte and Malick.
Having us, Adrienne and Autumn. It's so good to be here with you both.
Mm-hmm. It's so good to see y'all again.
This reunion feels wonderful. We were all together, the four of us, for the last time, all in the same space in Amsterdam, where we put on the show and then all went to see Beyonce together, and it was hilarious. So
it was a wild weekend. That was one of the wildest weekends I've had as a parent.
It was really, we took it there.
I was like, what is my life?
What is my life? This is quite amazing.
And I thought, Charlotte, when I met Adrienne, I was like, who is this woman? And, it's like the way I met you was like, we know each other forever. I was like,
I was like, no, we're we're already homies. I felt like we've known each other, I think all of us before. So here we are now. and this world. And we're going to just check in with each other and see how everyone's doing today. So, Autumn, why don't you start off and kind of land us in how are you right now, today on the clock of the world? Mother of 3 teenagers. How are you doing?
Is how I'm doing. My real answer is that this has been a really hard week. I just feel really worn down by the work of getting our whole family system through the end of the school year. And there are just times in parenting, I notice, especially as a single mom, there are just times where you feel like you're landing a plane and the landing gear just did not come down. And but you still have to land the plane. You still have to land it as safely as possible, and wings might get clipped off. And there might be a fire somewhere. And you just have to trust that the emergency personnel are trained and know how to use the fire extinguisher. And
also you have to be the emergency personnel.
Yeah. Or you have to try to delegate to somebody who might be underage. But that's kind of a little bit of the that's like a little bit of what's happening right now. It's not like we're in crisis or anything. It's just that there's the way I was describing it to one of my practice partners the other day was that it feels like every few days there's a threshold crossing moment happening in the family. And so I'm just reeling this week from that feeling. But all that being said, I'm doing a great job of hydrating. I'm doing a great job of eating. I'm getting mostly the amount of sleep that I need.
Wow.
And those basics are so important, as we all know, especially at this rich age that we all are. And so I'm feeling proud of myself for that like I am eating, sleeping, and drinking water through this. And
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, handling the basics. So that's where I'm at.
Welcome in that state. I'm proud of you.
Bobbing like a bird.
Yeah, you're doing great. No, you really are. Look, the bird-like shock on your face, but you're getting through it. It's great. Charlotte, how about you, love? How are you doing?
Ooh, I'm feeling good, actually. It's I think I'm in this space of gratitude. There's a lot of transformation happening around me, through me, in me. And so I have a lot of feelings about that transformation. But, overall good. And, yesterday was Eid. So Eid Mubarak to all the siblings celebrating. So it was a little bit sad to not be in Senegal. I'm in New York right now and I go back and forth, but it was so beautiful to kind of receive all the family photographs and stuff like that, and just kind of feel like, we're building in multiple places at the same time, and that is work. And I was at La Mama Theater where I grew up yesterday, and so that was also meaningful to be at La Mama because actually I saw this theater company, Slant Group, their show was the first show that I saw at La Mama when I got there when I was 16 years old. So it was really this very beautiful moment to remember people who are gone and people who are here. And, it's just a lot of feelings in this last, 24, 48 hours. But overall feeling good and feeling blessed and happy to be here with you all. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. I was almost like, who is that?
I was like, she's impressive. Okay. These are real artists. They're very impressive.
Hello.
Well, and you know what? For both of y'all, I was like, let me not give the huge, long paragraphs of awards and everything. I'm like, then it's going to be too much.
Just know that they are very
award-winning artists. So award-winning. Just know that. Malick, how are you doing, my love?
I'm so good and grateful. I come from a beautiful event, a beautiful ceremony with the family. As we world travelers, and we never be home, it's difficult to see the family, all the family, and it's the only time that we used to connect with the family. And I was so grateful to have both my family and my extension family that I has chosen, that I have to, sometimes to go with them during the Eid. I always welcome friends who's in the city. And that was a beautiful event. And I so happy to be there because, the family is my only, that part of the family is my connection with my mom. And I have really deep connection with my mom, and that was really beautiful, a lot of feeling, and all about love and happiness there.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Malick.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
Adrian, my sister, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm like in this little moment where I'm deep in this book that I'm writing. I'm like in the editorial phase. Like I got back the first big edits. They're really good. I'm really excited about it. But it's one of my dear friends' 50th birthdays. And so like it's been on the calendar for like 10 years that no matter what's happening, I'm going to be at this celebration this week. And it feels kind of surreal to have it finally be here. Everyone orients towards birthdays differently, right? So like for me, I'm always sort of like, I don't know, my birthday's coming. Like other people always be like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And then I have several people in my life who would like have planned their birthdays out like for the rest of their life. They're like, I will be here. I'll be doing this. So it's really cool to be around someone who's like unabashedly celebrating their birthday in this way. It's inspiring. And it also means like being away from home, like being in these little Northeast cities where I have history in each of these places. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice to be in a city where you can just like walk outside and like there's coffee and there's like 20 different kinds of food. And, I'm like, oh yeah, the vision of the city. I forget how pleasant this is. But also it's so loud. And I live in such a quiet place now. So last night I took Advil PM because I was like, I don't know how anyone can sleep through this. I need to be knocked out. But I got a great night's rest. And and I'm feeling something is happening where the balance of the greater world and my inner life is feeling more balanced. Like I think for a while I've been living very outside myself, like kind of disconnected from myself and very caught up in like, here's what happened today, here's what happened today, here's what happened today. And kind of receiving news from a very powerless place, like not like, it's just like, okay, now I just know. I know about all this stuff that I can't do anything. I don't feel like I can do much about. And now I'm like really, something's balancing where I'm like, oh no, I'm really figuring out like, here's what I can do something about. Like through my writing, through my actions, here's what I actually can do something about. And I'm doing it. And like Trustee McMillan Cottom said that. She was like, a lot of people are burnt out because they're not taking action or they're not taking right action. And so you're just overwhelmed and not responding. So I'm feeling really good because I'm like, oh, like I started donating to my local food kitchen. I started like, there's just some moves that I've been making that I'm like, oh, this is tangible and supportive and connected. And like, it connects my global politics to my local life and all of that. So I'm feeling equilibrium.
That's awesome.
And then we keep having these conversations with people that are just like beloveds. So this season of like talking to artists has been really sweet. And I'm really excited for this. So, sister, do you have a tarot card for us? You're going to be our tarot card reader today?
I'm our tarot card reader today. I pulled a card for us from the Queer Tarot, which was created by a couple cute queers named Ash and Chess. And the card that I pulled for us today is the Four of Cups reversed. Ooh. So for people who are familiar with tarot, you will know that the Four of Cups is often associated with apathy and discontentedness. But we pulled it reversed. It's cute, but upside down. And I'll just read a little bit of what it looks like in reverse. Or I guess I'll show you all what it looks like right side up. Look at this cutie under a tree with his frowny face on his shirt.
So queer.
And then cute sandals and then 4 cups. One of the cups is being handed to him out of a out of a cloud. I love the art for this tarot because it's so whimsical.
Yes.
And so the reverse of Four of Cups says, you feel drawn to retreat and go within. You may be feeling disheartened and not ready to deal with it all. You prefer to spend time alone, but remember, community is important too. Honor your alone time and friendships.
Oh, that's perfect.
I know.
That's perfect.
I'm like, weirdly accurate.
I'm like, just let me be by myself and then be with people. That's all I need.
Thank you, Ash and Chess. Thank you, Queer Tarot.
Thank you, sister. I appreciate you covering the tarot duties as I'm on the road. We're going to get into this little interview with y'all real quick. Are y'all ready to be interviewed?
I think so.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to ask
Ready or not.
Here we come. You can't hide. I'm going to ask you
Some
invasive
questions
questions.
here.
I love that you always catch the vibe, sister. Okay. So first, Charlotte and Malick, I'm going to ask each of you individually to tell us the story of how you fell in love with the art forms you practice. I think of each of you as revolutionary artists, and each of you are multidisciplinary. So we're particularly interested in how did you figure out that these were the art forms of your revolutionary practice, your revolutionary instigation? I know, Charlotte, I think that you started in theater, and Malick, maybe you started in photography, but y'all tell us a little bit about how you fell in love with the art forms you practice.
It's so funny that 2 days ago I had a friend here who's a DJ, and we were talking about some family challenge and stuff like that, and we come to an agreement that we all have like the same feeling that how we get to be an artist, because she was telling me she's a survivor, like all her life was not easy. She there was a time of her life she almost die, and today she's like remembering all of these memories of how her heart get to be soft to be an artist, and I was like, oh wow, you sound like you're reading my journey as an artist, because I'm a part of a family of 20 kids, and I'm the 19th one. And
wow.
My
Wow. Wait,
yeah,
19th?
19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad
That's
was
incredible. Come on, mother. Wait, was it?
That's not
Wow.
from only one mom. No, my dad was married to
okay.
4 wives. Yeah. And,
Okay, beautiful.
yeah.
I was like, share the load. A lot of labor and delivery.
And my life, growing up was not easy at all. I left home when I was 5 to go to a Quranic school, and get back home when I was 12, and loving with this lovely mom who's just open to like receiving me and give me some education, and also was so patient with me, allow me also to make mistake and also be myself, and I went to school. After my high school, my first year of university, I knew that I was not going to become what they want me to, to become as a counter or whatever, And at that time I was practicing photography already, but I pick up photography again, as a as a work, as a job, and that was like I never leave it, because it was like giving me certain freedom that I couldn't find in the other world, and that was the beginning of my journey, and I felt in love, having that kind of possibility to find liberty and freedom in that process.
Wow, I love that.
Wow.
Thank you. Little snapshot of, I'm really imagining like little Malick going off at 5.
5.
That's such a huge deal.
Yeah, that was a really quite challenging moment. Knowing that you have a dad somewhere, but you never get to see him a lot. And and it's not. Yeah, I still learning that kind, that part of parenting, and and I'm just like, oh, I tried to understand my dad because he was a busy man, very busy with his community. It was not like he was making baby and go away, but he was like raising other people, children, and he found a village in the south of Senegal, and in a very challenging time in Senegal in the 1978. When people need food and need like housing and need like some support, he was there for his community, and he found this village, and he say, come on, you can live with me and like afford, food and land for you. And that village is like a big village in the south of Senegal, where Charlotte and me.
That's incredible.
Went to see.
Yeah, I feel like I remember you saying that your dad had founded a village and basically created a space where people could come and be and survive.
In the midst of a famine.
Yeah.
Right? Which is kind of incredible also.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot. I'm glad you found art.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm glad to find art. Yeah, and also to find different families.
Yes.
Through art.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Through art. Beautiful. We'll want to hear more of this. But Charlotte, will you weave yourself in? How did you fall in love with your art forms, theater?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Caribbean parents, art has always been a part of my life, like whether it was Carnival, growing up, between Toronto and Barbados. Carnival was a thing that I knew before I even realized, like, this is theater, right? It was just like part of the year, like a thing that would happen. Music was always in my household. My parents always had like sculptures and photography books, so there was always like art everywhere. And, I have to say, I actually started out as a dancer. And I was like one of these kids who were 5 nights a week in dance classes and doing shows and, very kind of seriously, like, I'm gonna be a dancer, right?
How old are you when you were doing that?
Like from maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what I mean? Like just like a kid, I was also hyperactive. So I think it was also like for my mom, like, this child needs something to do.
Send her to dance class and wear her out.
Exactly. as often as possible, right? And then I loved it. And then, I was telling someone the other day, I remember when I was 11, my mom took me to go see Serafina. I don't know if y'all know that musical. Yes. I mean, I feel even weird calling it a musical because it was so much more than that. We saw the original South African cast in Toronto. And that blew my mind because, it's not like the same as actors performing a thing. Yeah. It was this was the South African kids who had experienced this, struggle to free Mandela and who had been out in the streets, and someone had the brilliant idea to put those songs on stage and to share that with the world. And I think, at the time, of course, I couldn't articulate that, like how that was different from other performances I had seen or other dances I had seen, but I knew that there was something authentic there that I was like, okay, that's specifically that thing I want to do. And so I think that's kind of the moment that I like fell in love with, or one main moment I fell in love with my art form. And then later on, I left, similar to Malick, I left home early. I was a little older. I was 16. I came to New York, started interning with La Mama Theater. And basically 2 weeks after graduating high school, I was in Eastern Europe on a tour on a bus with 30 people, a snake, a baby, touring through what was the former Yugoslavia.
A snake.
There was a war going on, and we were performing these shows in ancient Greek and languages that had been essentially made up. And they were called epic operas. And Ellen Stewart, I'll never forget this, like at one of the press conferences, because we couldn't tell one founder, country. Right? She's the founder and was the director of those shows and of La Mama. And the visionary of La Mama also. It's like even, just like put her very high. And I remember her at a press conference telling people, like, I remember when you were one thing. And so this idea of the separation that was going on just like in front of us. And here we are, this motley crew of like 30 performers from everywhere in the world. There were like 15 passports on the bus. You know what I mean? This is like wild. And I think that was another moment of like really falling in love with this art form, because it was like, there were so many different languages being spoken, so many different cultures being experienced, living together, surviving together, multi-generational, different identities, and still like making this work that was deeply affecting people and really bringing people together on another level. So I think that's also like another moment. But I'm always falling in love with my art form.
Yeah.
So, or, you know, like that's why I keep doing it, you know?
Yeah.
There's always reasons. Even the projects I've been doing with Malick, you know, it's just like other levels. I fell in love when we were working on To Feel a Thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a continuation of this, like, the reason I keep doing it is because it just kind of keeps bringing me, like, as Malick said, this new family, right? These new constructions. I mean, as an only child, raised as an only child, these new constructions of family and togetherness and, you know, also just how to stay in the room in difficult times.
Listen.
And make something beautiful out of that.
We all need to learn.
Turn it into a song. I can make a dance out of that.
Yes.
And I'm glad. I'm so glad that you were using the language of like falling in love, Charlotte, and that we started here because obviously you two also fell in love with each other. And so we would love to hear that story. We're suckers for love stories. And the way that the two of you move both separately and together is very inspiring. So we were wondering if you could tell the story of how you fell in love as partners and as collaborators.
Okay, so there's like a couple of different versions of this story.
Oh, fun.
Oh, good.
So there's like the earthly version and the cosmic version. Which one do you want?
Oh my gosh. Kind of cosmic, I think we have to go for if that's an option.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
Well, I you know, you want me to say, okay, well, you know, we jokingly and lovingly, but also, you know, there's truth in every joke, seriously, also say, Malick is my ancestor, right? Like, I came to Senegal working on a project called Forgotten Paradise that was about bringing together or reconnecting to kind of silenced, lost, and forgotten parts of my history. And through that, creating projects with artists, you know, across the diaspora. And so that's how I met Malick. And so there's a way in which I think like the universe was like, no, you have to meet this person, right? This person is the way in which I'm hearing the garbage trucks in Dakar, and so like
That's the day after
like-
Eid,
I was like, wait a minute.
They need to clean the city.
right, they gotta clean up the streets.
It's real life.
It's happening.
I'm trying to
all
ignore
around.
them. Yeah, but,
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So yeah, there's just that kind of, you know, why does anybody meet anybody, and what fulfills your life in that meeting and that connection. And so, you know, I think there were many events that happened that led us to connecting. I don't know, Malick, do you want to say, or do you want me to say
Yeah, I can say it, you know, Charles came to Dakar late 2019. You know, I was not there. I was, you know, at the beginning of our journey, I was traveling. I was going to Chicago, and she's you know, she get to be with a friend of mine who's my best friend here, Antoine, who used to like do big gathering every Thursday, and I don't know, Charlotte was like living with some Americans, you know, in Dakar, in Yoff, and they knew Antoine, and they go to Antoine and they invite Charlotte to join them. And, you know, at that party, you know, of course, if I was in Dakar, we would meet that same night, because, you know, Antoine is my best friend and I used to go. And, you know, if I would meet her the same night. But that night I was traveling back to Dakar. When I arrived in Dakar, I have to see Antoine the next day, and Antoine invited me for a concert in the French Institute in Dakar, and we were sitting in the restaurant having dinner after the concert, and Charlotte show up and say hi to Antoine, and I catch her eyes, and we start talking, and we keep hanging out. We never we stopped hanging out since that night. Yeah.
Aww.
And it's kind of, I feel like in a way it's a little bit mystical how we met, because the people who I was living with who brought me to that party were people that I only spent one night with. I was having housing difficulties, and I ended up staying with a group of women, but I only stayed one night with them. And they happened to say, well, we're going to this party. Do you want to join us? And then I met Antoine at his party, which is like a very well-known gathering for artists in Dakar. And Antoine had lived in New York for 20 years. So we had all these people in common. Mm-hmm. So not only did I meet Antoine, we actually had, this person and this person and this person, like really like one of these meetings that, don't really happen every day. And so then the next night I had gone to this concert alone, and then I was leaving the concert, and then there's Antoine. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Like, right, so if we hadn't had that meeting the night before, that kind of profound exchange, I would have probably just said hello and kept walking. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have been like... And so we went to a party that night, and then we just kind of kept hanging out. Yeah. And then I left Dakar. So in January 2020, I left Dakar, came back to the States, went to a residency in Wyoming. While we were in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, at the Sundance residency, that's when the pandemic started.
Oh, right. Boy.
And so I came back, and at the time I was teaching in Boston. And I came back and I taught one class, and then that was like March 13th or something, 2020, like the kind of the end of everything we knew, right? And basically 2 people like Malick and I, who went from being very busy people and traveling all over the world and like just barely finding time to, stay in contact and talk, all of a sudden had all this time to spend on the phone, talking, sharing work, watching movies, like just being together, because there was just so much going on. And actually I had bought a ticket. Antoine, Malick, and some other friends were like, oh, you should come back to Dakar since everything is shut down. And I bought a ticket to go back to Dakar, but they shut the country down 3 days before my flight.
Oh, damn.
Well, damn,
no,
but
it
was
Paris.
Good, because then that was like... We were supposed to go to Paris,
was,
right? That's right.
That was Paris.
Oh.
Yeah.
We were supposed to meet in Paris.
I supposed to be in Paris, and and I say, let's meet in Paris, and you bought your ticket, and 3 days before your departure, they
shut everything down. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I love the sentence, let's meet in Paris. Okay, yeah.
But for me, it was important that I didn't leave, actually, because that was kind of that summer of reckoning, and that was such an important, I feel like just an important shift in like, asking myself, like, what do I want? How do I want to live? Like, literally, that I can't breathe. I was feeling that, My friend had a buddy, pandemic buddy, who's become my dear, dear friend, Martial, and we would like cycle 3 hours to protests with like canned food on our back and water and medical supplies. And, we were just like making our way around, but we didn't know if the air was killing us. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We didn't remember that time, we just like really didn't know. We didn't know what was going on. And I think by the time the fall hit, and the cold started to come in, and I was living in my studio apartment in Harlem, I was like, I don't know if this is the way that I want to live. And so Malick was like, come to Dakar, right? Malick and Antoine were like, come to Dakar. And I went in October 2020, thinking I'm going to spend 2 weeks. End up spending 10 months.
Wow.
We have a lot of like, there's a lot of love in our life, but we also experience a lot of loss in our life. We both lost a lot of people during the pandemic in our communities. And I think we just both were like, hey, let's, we love being together. I can see a life with you. He could see a life with me. So we just decided to get married. So I feel like that was like really like a real turning point in the experience, And at that point we had also made work together. Do you know what I mean? So it was kind of like we had gone through the process of like really kind of knowing each other in a high stress and calm and also living the dream. Yeah, exactly. So, but he's my ancestor, because people also say we kind of look alike, which I say, well, he could be my ancestor.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
The first time I met,
Like
I have met Charlotte's dad. Charlotte's dad was like, "Oh, you look family." I say, "Oh, yeah." And
Let's
he's
get
like,
married, then we'll be family.
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful. So thank y'all. It really is beautiful. I want people who are listening to understand that, Charlotte and Malick really do like split time between Dakar and being in other places where the work calls. So New York is one of the places that they're often in. But like almost every time I talk to you, y'all are in a different place, either together or traveling separately, doing shows all over Africa, Europe, the US, Canada. So just for folks to understand, like when we talk about how inspiring they are as a couple, it really is like, you can see from outside that y'all are supporting each other's artistic freedom and that you're like collaborating with each other, but also really like, there's a real sense of like, go where you need to go to do the art that you need to do. And like, if I can do it with you, I will. Like when we were doing To Feel a Thing, Malick was like, well, I can come and photograph everyone and do some of these most beautiful photographs people have of themselves. Because Malick was like, yeah, I'm here and I'm gifted, so I'll do this for you.
Thank you.
So I know Forgotten Paradise was a project that you were working on before, Charlotte, and then I think is one of the things that Malick has come in and been a big part of and provided some of the visual language for. Can you tell us about the journey of Forgotten Paradise, what you set out to do, what you've learned along the way, and about working together, but also just about making work about lostness in such a lost time?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Forgotten Paradise actually started when I met my half-brother for the first time in 2015. So I grew up as an only child, but I've got siblings older than me and younger than me. But I grew up as an only child. And so in 2015, I decided to, go to Barbados, where my family's from. And something in me was just like, go look him up, right? Like, no agenda, just give him a call and let him know I'm there. And that was like kind of the best call I ever made in my life. Like my brother, I love him deeply. And those early conversations that we would have were just kind of like really just seeding this idea of like, wow, we've got all these connections. We've got so many places where we're the same and so many places where we're totally different. He grew up very differently than I did. But at the same time, there's like deep, deep love. And I think I would say that Forgotten Paradise in so many ways is about kind of rekindling love that's been separated, right? I think the transatlantic slave trade did more to separate us, but I think that's also a map to reconnect us, right? Like in some way. There's a way that we can find the memories, recreate the memories, reestablish connections that have been lost, imagine connections, right? Remember the stories, celebrate the crossings and the survival, honor those who are past. And so I think, Forgotten Paradise is a multi-chapter project. It's got, films, it's got performances, photography. It was such a gift to meet Malick. The very first chapter of Forgotten Paradise, I took my brother and some collaborators to Ghana, where we made a performance for a festival in Ghana and a short film. And then I ended up in Nigeria, and then I ended up in Senegal. And so I feel like Senegal, the collaboration with Malick and Senegal has really been a kind of homecoming for the project, like really finding where the project is expanded in its full breadth. And now Malick and I have made several chapters of the project together and have, now we even have a production company with the same name, Forgotten Paradise Projects, just because there's so many lines of connection that we want to make where we say, I think there's a way in which there's a lot of disconnect between Africa and the diaspora, but that disconnect is a kind of learned, enforced, purposeful for someone else's project disconnect. That disconnect isn't really real. So many of the foods we eat are the same. Ideas of fashion are the same. The swagger is the same. The cadence in the languages is the same. The rhyme and the reason. I mean, I found out like the dozens actually probably started in Senegal, right? Because they have a whole tradition about that, which Malick could tell you about. But, there's just this way, the banter, all of it it's like, we are more connected than we think we are. And I think the fear-basedness of some of our disconnection is really just the colonial project trying to keep winning. And so now the latest thing that we're doing is that we have a space. And that space, Malidoma Poppengain, the name Malidoma means to make friends with the stranger, right? Yes. And so it's kind of like the mantra we want people to have when they say it, like Malidoma Poppengain, like we'll make friends with the stranger, like we are not strange to one another, in fact.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's the next question I was going to ask you both. So Malick, if you want to share anything about what Forgotten Paradise has meant for you, like what it's been like to move into that project, kind of, bring your vision into it, and then speak a little bit more about Malidoma Poppengain. That would be awesome.
I as Shah said, Forgotten Paradise was like, for me, it's like a homecoming too, because, I never knew that kind of story. Like, where we start collaborating was in the story of Omar Ibn Said, who was a slave, they captured from Senegal, that I never know about because, I never learned his story at school, until I met Shah, and, that make me thinking about my connection with those who left, who I can claim as my family, because, my mom, some part of my mom family, is Fulani, and the Fulani people, they come from the north. And Omar Ibn Said is, he came from the north, and I didn't know about him. And that, when we went there to do the research, and I was like, wow, there's nobody who know about him there. That made me really sad, and also, make me want to, do more research about him. And, Shah, invited me in the journey to do the project. And I remember that night we slept in Futa Toro. The first night I had this dream of a white horse. That was, and in the spirituality in Africa, white horse means a new journey, a new beginning. And that was like, for me, that was like awakening for me to just like, oh, this is the person you should collaborate with. Because, I never have like that kind of collaboration relationship, because I'm a visual artist, and we visual artists, most of us, we think that our collaborator is our studio, or what we have, or our as a photographer, my camera. But that was not right. But they would want to make you think that you can do you can do everything alone, and that's not possible. I started learning that with Charlotte, and that that was like a very nice time for us, to get to know each other, and also bring this project together. And we in a moment of gratefulness, because this first that Forgotten Paradise put us together, and then after we having a space together, and also like, it's so beautiful. We building a new journey from the Forgotten Paradise.
I love that. And then the space, the vision for Malidoma Poppengain, it's an idea, it's an artist residency space, yes?
yeah, I was just I want to give this head because like this artist residency now, this like it's becoming like very promoted now. Everybody want to have the artist residency now because it's how the world is is showing us the uncertainty and things like that. And as an artist to have a space, first Malidoma Pavangin is our laboratory before it became an artist residency, and also that laboratory also gives space to artists to do research and also to grow also food and also grow like connection and grow and connect to the to the community we have there. And because most of the artist residency we experiencing is like just inviting artists and they come and they do the work and they leave and we looking for like new connection a new connection in that land.
Wow,
I love that. It feels like in a way like growing wholeness or growing an artist as a whole person, a whole part of a community. Like how do you actually expand into a wholeness of life and not just like, using a place, being like, I'm going to use a blank room or I'm going to use a blank space to create something, but instead being like, I'm going to come and weave in and seed in and be seeded into, which
exactly.
Is very
and
exciting.
how do you make work? There's a way in which I think sometimes art can be very extractive. Right? But I don't make art with you to extract from you. I make to be in relation with you, right? And so whatever practice you're doing or whatever your contemplations are about your practice, there's a way that can be in relationship with local community, that can be in relationship with the land, that can be in relationship with the ocean. And, in that way, it's like the idea is that it's a meeting place for, first thinking really about people from the diaspora, but really people from everywhere.
That's so exciting. I know Autumn and I have the past few years have been doing this writing retreat in Ireland. And when you started talking about this space, I was like, we need to come there. And it would be so fun to like come and do some like writing together, science fiction. But we were learning to integrate it. Like last year we had a sound artist basically come and create like a soundscape project from grabbing recordings from the session. And I was like, I would love to do something similar like that in Dakar and in Senegal. And it just feels like a coming home too. Like speaking of, Malick is your ancestor. You might be our ancestor too, Malick. Like we might all be, in the lineage with each other. Which I feel really okay with. I feel really into.
Yes. Well, the invitation is there. You don't have to ask again. Just show up. Let us know when you're at the airport.
Okay, great.
You have a place to stay. You have food. You're more than welcome. Yeah, that's what we want. We want people to think about what can happen there. I mean, I think there's a way the world has tried to make Africa the peripheral, but like, no, Africa is an incredible space for imagination. And, another point of falling in love with my art form was like getting to Senegal, right? Senegal, like theater, there's a way in which, we think of theater as these classic texts and, these, big theaters and whatnot. And that's like the height of it. But like Senegal is like, Africa is the place where the idea of the ritual and the gathering got perfected, right? So this idea of like even lunch becomes a ritual, a meeting point, a gathering, like let's all get on the floor. There's no head of the table. We're all eating from one bowl and we're all together, right? And there's a kind of, you wait for everybody, right? You're not like starting and then there's like people still coming. No, you wait for everybody to arrive and then you share, right? Whatever is left, that goes and gets shared out further. And I think that idea of like, we can cultivate our artistic practices together. Like, I think the pandemic really showed me that I think there was this idea or there's still this kind of idea of the kind of singular artist. And of course, you know, we invest in our work and we work really hard, but every artist has someone who's supporting them along the way, who's, you know, reading the drafts, who's listening to the colors that we make, to, you know, bouncing the ideas off, talking about what it is we want to make. And so we're making that in relation. So like, why not make a place where that can happen? That's like a 7-minute walk from the beach, that's got a nature reserve, that's got a bird sanctuary, that's got this beautiful village full of people who are so welcoming. You know, it's not like a remote place. Like you are in a village, you know? And I think it's really thinking about, you know, for me as a theater artist, how not to just make something that's ephemeral, but to say, okay, here is a place where we can meet year after year. You know, you can always come back. Right. You know, Dakar, New York is a quick 7 hours, 7.5, 8, depending on the wind.
Quick 7
you know,
hours.
It's like going to LA, or it's like going to, you know, London. And, you know, for me, it's really about saying, you know, very much to people, like, come and touch this earth and feel the sun and eat this food in community, and kind of remember what it is to be in community as an artist, as a culture maker, right?
I love this, Charlotte, especially just the invitation to those of us, all of us in the diaspora. I think there's, you know, I appreciate you highlight, like, there's some thread I want to pull here around the thing you highlighted early on around the disconnection that is very much on purpose, and the need for us to all feel connected, and then the hesitancy that people have around fears of being extractive. I think I think artists in the diaspora, I think for some people there's like a huge eagerness to return to the homeland. And then I think for other people, there's a real meaningful fear of return, both around like, what are my reasons for going, and what is going to happen when I show up. And I remember the first time that I touched down on a piece of land on the continent of Africa. And I remember that nothing could have prepared me for the way that felt. Nothing prepared me for the way it felt and for the complexity of all that I was feeling as a result of just being there. And I think that too, it's like, I love imagining the space that you all are creating as a place that can hold all of what gets stirred in people as a result of return and reconnection. Because we can get so focused on the disconnection that we're not necessarily like preparing and fortifying ourselves for the work of reconnection, which is a process that stirs so much inside of us.
Yes. And the thing about the process, whether you're excited to return or whether you're scared, it's like every relationship, it takes time. We have to go easy with each other. We have to be careful about what expectations we're walking in with, right? It's like people are trying to live their lives. You know, we're all trying to survive colonialism and capitalism and racism. We're all doing it on all the sides. Right. And actually we have more to share about ways to combat that if we like speak together, right? If we get our heads together around a bowl of food and some ataya tea and like, you know, really get together and really think about it. But I think it's a thing of quelling our expectations of what is going to be and just kind of arrive open. Right? Not saying like, you know, I'm a New Yorker, so like I'm not saying that you arrive in Africa just like open and you purse open. You know, like, you still come with your common sense. You arrive with your common sense, but you come open to the way other people are doing things in the world. And I know sometimes that is challenging for those of us on, let's say, this side of the big water, but I think we have to think of like, it's the same water, right? It's the same flowing water, but it doesn't mean that everything is the same. And so we have to like, the same way you would walk into the water at the beach, you kind of dip your toes in first and you arrive lovingly and openly and caringly. it's the same way you have to do it. But, that's the idea, is that we want to make a space where, some of that trepidation or some of that fear is like quelled. And we say like, yeah, we want to have a place where we can share what we all know, right? Yeah. We have a lot of programs also that we're building at Malidoma. So one is a library called Nyokobok. Nyokobok is like, so Jërëjëf is thank you in Wolof.
Okay.
And Nyokobok and Malick, Jërëjëf. And then Nyokobok is what would be in place of you're welcome, but it means it's ours to share.
Oh.
So I've got my little Fenty lip, I guess I shouldn't say the name, but I've got my little lip gloss. So if you ask to borrow it, I can say, well, Barbadian, we have to like big us up. But, but it's like if
You're actually okay with shouting her out because she's pro-Palestine. So
yes.
Of the billionaires.
She's done a lot of good things. She's done a lot of good things. But it's just the idea that whatever you give me, it's ours to share. It was never mine to begin with. I can freely share it with you. And I love that about, Senegalese culture and African culture in general. Like there's just this sense of like, deep in the heart, there's a sense of community. Not everybody you're going to meet is going to be feeling that vibe, like in America too, right? Yeah. But I think those kinds of ideas and ways of living are embedded in the society. And so I think it's like we just need to open also to that, right? Yeah. What does it mean to say it's not mine and yours?
Yes.
What if everything is ours? How do we move through the world if it's all ours,
This is why I love y'all, because I feel like every brush against y'all is a decolonial brush, like it feels like something gets brightened to me that I'm like, oh yes, like so much of how we survive as artists in the U.S., it's like you have to be very selfish and self-centered and be like, my time, I'm making boundaries around my space, I have my studio, I'm getting my grant,
my IP,
my art, my thing, right? and
iPhone.
Yeah, there's just a struggle, right? And then there's this way of being like, or what if none of it is mine? What if all of it is ours? And then how do you do ours with integrity and generosity and a real sense of like, it'll be better because of the collaboration. It'll be better because we took the time to sit and eat together. It'll be better. I feel like from the moment I met you, Charlotte, and you came to the project to work with me, it was immediately decolonizing me. It was immediately saying like, this will be better because of our collaboration. It'll be better because we soften with each other and we slow down and we eat together and we actually talk about our dreams before we make the work or before we rush into the next step. And the idea that the two of you who bring those seeds wherever you go are now like rooting down into the soil in a particular place and way is very exciting. And I can't wait to be there myself. But I also like, if anyone who's listening to this is like, oh yeah, I happen to have millions of dollars to pour towards like amazing artist residency projects. Like I really want people to know and hear about this as a decolonial, artistic, inspirational, visionary space that I think is going to help a lot of artists rediscover or remember their lineages and their root systems and like what kind of art we're actually here to make, not just responding to the trends of this time, but like responding to a deeper call of reconnect.
The art, thank you for saying that, Adrienne, and the like we were saying, Forgotten Paradise is the artwork that kind of seeded Malidoma Popengane. Yeah. And I think it's really important, like those words, Forgotten Paradise. It's like, it's not forgotten. Yeah. We're actually we make paradise. Paradise is not maybe it's after we pass into the next realm, right? Into the next level of physicality or spirituality, whatever that is. But I also have a firm belief that we make paradise right here on earth through our relations, how I treat you, how you treat me, and through also what we're building. Mm-hmm. How do we, and I'm happy you said the thing about the money, because we're not rich. We're just just like these artists with a dream, and we're like, okay, we really want to do that, but it's going to take a village to make this happen, right? Yeah. I told you about the library. We've got friends from England, from Switzerland, from all over the world, like donating books to the library.
Wow.
This community doesn't have a public library, so we're saying, okay, we have a little space. We're going to make a library. And, I can't wait till we reach out to you all and we're like, okay, so what's, how to survive the end of the world? Can you all give us like a selection of books to highlight these months? No, but to highlight for the library, right? And then we can build programming around that and share that with the local community and all of that. So that's the idea. It's just like, how do we like kind of give backwards, forwards, plant new seeds in people's minds, And
planting new seeds, we always say, we have like a farming program we call Kom Farm. It's a Kom involved mean abundance. And, talking about decolonization, because, we say in Wolof, who has your food has your mouth, that's the reason why we thinking, to bring this farming program, because, we know how the world is now. We all have like challenge moment. Now there's war happening, there's a lot of things happening. And, the most thing we repeating, seeing or hearing is like, where they're gonna get their food. And, I think, you cannot, if you always thinking that to getting your food from, elsewhere, you always still like have problem to have your freedom. You never be free. And we think that, added to the artistic practice, farming is like a most sustainable thing in life. And I think that, we want to give that experience to people who's coming to see us or who gonna come be with us at the Malidoma Popengin.
Oh, amazing. Thank you both so much for being with us and for sharing your journey, sharing your story, sharing the story of your work and all of I made so many notes during this conversation. I feel like so much wisdom just got downloaded. We're going to continue, for our listeners, we're going to continue the conversation with Charlotte and Malick over on Patreon in our Top Culture Show Within a Show. But for now, we're going to say thank you so much for
we love y'all.
Being guests on our show and just being lights in the world. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was so great. And I just wish you all the best with everything. Thank you.
Shake these bones, oh, we're gonna shake these bones, oh, we're gonna shake these bones, oh, we're gonna shake these bones.
Thanks for listening to our show. We're on Instagram at End of the World PC.
You can make a sustaining donation to our show by visiting our page at patreon.com/endoftheworldshow. And like we said, if you become a patron or you are one already, you get our show within a show, Top Culture, every Monday after our new Friday episodes.
Another incredible thing you can do to help our show sustain itself is to write us a review on Apple Podcasts if you're an iPhone person. This helps people looking for good new content to find us instead of true crime. Thank you.
I'm really upset by that true crime slander. That's just how I feel. How to Survive the End of the World is produced and edited by the super sweet Zach Rosen. Transcripts are in our show notes and on our website at endoftheworldshow.org. And special thanks to Samira Abdurrahman for holding me down at all times.
Music for today's show comes from Autumn, the band, Tunde Laniran, Mother Cyborg, and the Bengsons.
Your band is a true crime.